Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats.
You know, it's funny how financial difficulties tend to either lead people to OnlyFans or to professional wrestling. But if you're within the sound of my voice, that must mean that you're in the seats with once more. As always, my name is Dave Voigt, and I'm the host of this podcast, where I sit down with a wide-ranging variety of entertainment industry professionals, and I pick their brain about current projects to the industry, how they got started, and so very much more, in light and in a conversational fashion. And if you like how we do things around here, I am going to assume that you do, because let's face it, you're listening right now. So please keep listening and subscribe. Give us the old 5-star rating on your podcast provider of choice for this, uh, audio only experience, and subscribe. We're available pretty much everywhere. Places like Apple, Amazon, Spotify, Google. Plus, we archive every single one of our episodes over at our In the Seats YouTube channel, so you can give us a like and subscribe there as well. We'd really appreciate it. Also, don't hesitate to check us out on social media. We're on the Facebook, the Twitter, the Instagram, Letterboxd, the TikTok, the Blue Sky, the Threads, and probably several other places at In the Seats for all sorts of fun updates. And finally, and I do dare say most importantly, please pay us a visit over at In the Seats, intheseats.ca for all the latest and greatest in the world of film, television, basically the movie image at large, because guess what? We love to watch it and write about it and talk about it. We love it all that much more, and you come by and read about it and listen about it. So please do us that ultimate kindness. Come on by and pay us a visit. Every one of them counts. On this episode, we're stepping into the squared circle of the brand new show from the one and only David E. Kelley. Margot's Got Money Problems, which is airing on Apple Plus right now. And in case you don't already know, it's with Elle Fanning, Nick Offerman, Michelle Pfeiffer. Story of a young mother with money problems. It happens, and when you're struggling to make ends meet, you got to mix it up. And she meets her estranged father, Nick Offerman, offers help, and she starts an OnlyFans account using his advice from pro wrestling. Although she has some success with it, she's starting to balance sort of the cost of fame with the money that's coming in. It's funny, but it's heartfelt, and it's grounded too. And we had a unique pleasure of sitting down and talking with someone who helped to create the visual aesthetic of the show. Because it's a little weird, it's a little gonzo, but also there's a lot of action going on. There's stuff going on. You're actually getting into the ring from a professional wrestling standpoint. And we talked with Tari Segal, one of the show's cinematographers, about the challenges of pulling all that off and sort of giving the show the distinct look that it has. And well, considering that it's Emmy consideration season, where we don't mind considering talking to her because it's a good show, and we had fun with it. But like I said, if you haven't already seen Margo's Got Many Troubles, go check it out on Apple Plus now. But first, enjoy our conversation with cinematographer Tari Segal, because it's a darn good one. We'll see you soon. Terry, I mean, obviously, first off, just thank you for the time today. I really appreciate this, and congrats on your work on Margo. I mean, just it's
Thank
fun
you.
times.
Yeah, it was a fun show to be part of.
Now, I mean, I guess the first question is like I'm always kind of curious because obviously, like I did my research and I see that you, as a cinematographer, you kind of split the load. Like you do four, someone else does four, but there's multiple directors. Like, how does that kind of evolve into sort of getting hired? Because I mean, I just this idea of, you know, like I'm curious about how the workload gets split up. I guess it's probably the best way to put it.
I wish I knew how they decided to make this suit, and it turned out that way. I know that the episodes also came out in a very strange order. So I did, Carl did one and two, I did three and four. Then he jumped to six and seven. I did five and eight with Dervla, because she definitely wanted to do those episodes and do them with me. So who knows how they decided to do that, but there we are.
Like, at what point, like, when are they bringing you in to sort of figure out sort of the look of the show? Because again, in watching it, on one end, obviously the color schemes are very sort of vibrant and very sort of on purpose and just sort of what we're seeing in sort of this universe with these characters. But at the same time, there's almost sort of a diffused nature and also sort of like a kind of a desperation moment where we see these characters have a down moment and they're like borderline out of focus. And I mean, I thought it was kind of beautiful just to sort of give us the sort of dichotomy of the highs and the lows of that these people are going through.
Yeah, it started with a very naturalism approach where we didn't want it to feel too dark and gritty and edgy, and at the same time, we didn't want it to feel too overlit and too poppy, and have kind of a softer, natural feel to it. And I know that Carl and I, when we both started working on this, we had very similar ideas and lookbooks. So that made it easy. But at the same time, we didn't know where the story was going. I mean, we only got two scripts at a time.
Right.
So the idea was, oh, well, we'll just, keep evolving this and just, keep building upon each other's looks. And I do think as the show goes on, the colors become a bit more stylized and more fun and poppy. And that kind of came about because the character story arcs were just becoming more fuller.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, the colors were very intentional. And I think each moment, each like chapter of Margot's life brought in a lot more color and a lot more feeling.
No, 100%. And I mean, speaking of the color and the feeling, I mean, I've got to ask about it's one of your episodes,
Mhm.
number four, I believe, just the wrestling.
Yeah.
Because in watching it, and I mean, full disclosure, I am a wrestling fan. And when I
Yes.
was watching it, I was like, wow, they actually shot it kind of the way they shoot wrestling. And it definitely sort of put me more into the moment rather than sort of having this, like, awkward box and sort of having people standing around and cheering. No, it was really immersive and really sort of frenetic. Can you talk a little bit about wanting to sort of capture that vibe as accurately as possible?
That's so great to hear coming from a wrestling fan. I mean, we all got to we were invited to see an actual wrestling show, WWE,
Yeah.
at the Intuit Dome at the beginning of this. And they're like, this is the wrestling world. And it's unbelievable how much production goes into wrestling.
It's
Like
intense, isn't it? Yeah.
it's like the lighting is, when I first read the script and I thought, oh, WrestleCon and there's a ring, you think, okay, it's probably pretty simple, but after going to those shows and actually seeing like the fan base of it, we went even further. And so we overlit it. Like we have all of these moving lights, all of these like the vendors we with production design and props, we went over the top building all of these like areas that people go to. And we spent a lot of time dressing the background and making it feel as authentic as possible. And then studying wrestling. I mean, I grew up with WWF wrestling,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so I was a fan of that when I was younger and the showmanship of it. And so there's the outside of the ring feel of a fan watching it, and then there's the internal moments of the ring. And so we separated those two and gave Jinx his story and his perspective of being able to be in the ring with him and then being on the outside with Margot's point of view of watching it.
Well, and that's the thing in watching the show, because I mean, I got these moments of genuine flair and genuine sort of big and bright. I mean, with the eye makeup and the colors and the this and that, and then there's this counterbalance with the softer moments. And I mean, it definitely felt to me like, especially from your perspective and your job, that it was either it must have been a joy to do because you're not necessarily shooting one style the entire time. It'd be like, okay, next setup is something completely different, and then so on and so on.
Yeah, every scene sort of had its own life. And we never made rules about, when we were going handheld or when we were studio. And because it was a very intuitive, we were given a lot of space to do what we thought was appropriate for those scenes. And sometimes some of them just felt very intimate and sad. And especially for Jinx's character, there's moments where, Nick would come on and he'd rehearse and he'd bring something so heavy about it. And it really affected my approach to the lighting of that scene. And so, yeah, a lot of things were built on the day and in the moment.
Well, and props to Nick too, because I mean, I can imagine, especially given the physicality, there would have been a temptation to sort of cut away or have like a wider shot when something more violent was happening. But like, no, Nick was in there. Nick was doing it.
Yeah, he was just he was so excited. He'd worked really hard he wanted to do more than what the producers were wanting to do. Like, he wanted to get on the ring and jump in and everything. And everyone was very nervous. And I think on the day he convinced them with the stunt department that no, 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 he's been practicing. He can do this. And so he got up on the ring and on the ropes, and did a lot of his own stunt work.
How does I mean, again, obviously, much like real wrestling, it is choreographed, so you know where everyone's going to go. But I've got to imagine to still maintain sort of that intimacy, but be following action at the same time is definitely a challenge for you, just in terms of movement of the camera. Can you talk a little bit about, I guess, finding the spots where you need it to be, especially in sort of in the ring moments?
Yeah, I didn't want things to feel too planned and too
Of
choreographed.
course, of course,
You wanted to have a bit of like found naturalism to it. And so what we did was we said, you know what, this particular story, this is Jinx's moment, and let's just stay with him. And so even though we had Nicole Kidman, we weren't giving her the same close-up as Nick. We stayed
yeah,
close with Nick and we watched with him as he was flinging her around. And so everything sort of started from there. And then whatever time we had left, we just had fun playing with everything. But we built it off of his perspective and his moment. Even like watching Margot seeing him. So we're over his body and she's there through the rings looking at him. It all comes from him and not
right.
Margot.
On a show like this, where, like you said, you're only getting a couple of scripts at a time,
Yeah.
and you're divvying up the work, how much do you have to sort of watch what your other partner on the show is doing to sort of mimic and sort of keep the through line going through? Or do you sort of have that stuff sort of already pre-planned out in sort of the arc of shooting the whole thing?
We try to, but each script really like had such a different chapter of her life. I and the order in which we shot it was really rare. So Carl's starting 6 and 7 when we haven't shot five.
Oh
And
wow, okay.
five was the Vegas episode, and that was a world of its own, and that was shot last. So he's going into 6 and 7, and I did pay close attention and watch a lot of what he was doing with the OnlyFans stuff and taking it to another level. And I built on that. Like so when you're in 8 and you see the girls in the light and the black light and everything, it's really building off of a lot of what they were doing. And 8 is such a continuation of 7, but it was all shot out of order. So it was really, I found it very important to watch the dailies and see where things were going. And 5 just was a special episode, but yeah,
Well, you
it was.
both did a great job. Everything really does play
Thank you.
very seamlessly,
Yeah.
and I mean, I'm curious because this has to feel more creatively rewarding from your perspective to sort of be in it from minute one, to sort of be able to craft a look for the show rather than, say, a one-off where it's like, okay, you're coming in for one episode or you're coming in for one shoot. This is what we want you to do. Go do it. This
Yeah, I mean,
feels like it was much more participatory, if that makes any sense.
it was, and it's pretty much like, this is, my world to create, and then I hand it off to someone and they're creating a world. And it really was a very shared experience, but creatively it was so fulfilling that, especially working with Eva Anderson, who's one of like the co-showrunner, one of the
Yeah.
head writers. I had done a show with her before, Interior Chinatown, which was also very like giving us creative license. And so she would always say, "No, you can go further with that if you want." And I was like, "Great, you're not worried. Let's do it." And try to add a little bit more mood. I did get a bit more stylized in the Vegas episode and added more color and more of a poetic sense. But yeah, it was fun from beginning to end. Very challenging though.
Well, and I mean, it's one of those things where I can imagine from your perspective, the job is always going to evolve from if it's a short or a music video or even if it's just a one-off kind of job to doing something where you're connected to the entire project. Like
Yeah.
how does that kind of change sort of the rhythm of it all for you?
I mean, there is, uh, you're telling a story over 8 episodes in this
Yeah,
one, and there is a development and an arc change. And so, you're coming in for these moments and chapters of great growth or
yeah,
failure. And so it makes it exciting because it's in a sense it's not doing the same show every episode.
right.
It does feel different and it is exciting and new. And every episode was had a different vibe and feel to it. So it was fun in that way. And it does it did have a little bit of a music video quality to it. We had a lot of music in the script that was written in the script, and they're singing along, and
Right.
and montages were built around songs which we were given early. And so you could listen to the song on set and find the tempo and the beat, which made it a lot of fun to shoot.
Oh, that's so fun. And I mean, it's one of those things where it really feels like the streaming boom has allowed, like you were saying before, a bit of that sort of creative license to no, just go do it. If this was sort of a 22 episode broadcast sort of machine mill, it would feel like a very different project. But on stuff like this, it feels like you're allowed to sort of let your freak flag fly a little bit and try stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, and hope that they don't rein it back. I mean, it really, we tried some things, and in the end through post, I was watching the ping pong of things going like big and smaller and big and
Right.
small. And the fact that we were able to bring it to where we all wanted it originally was such a testament to the creatives really fighting for it. Because, there's things there that are scary, I think, for executives and or to actually like commit to something, commit to a song, and commit to an idea is not an easy thing for a lot of people to do.
Well,
But
no, it's true. It's true. And I mean, just even given the nature of this show, how it made us feel like we again, I don't want to say uneven, but like it was almost we were on a different platform that's always kind of moving and things were evolving. There was never any sort of staticness to this show, which to me I think is its magic, and I really enjoyed that.
yeah, yeah, it wasn't a lot of, I mean, the storyline and the goals keep changing, which was fun. So it wasn't just one problem. It was a series of issues going on in her life between her dad and her mom and that wedding and the baby and the OnlyFans and the ex and the lawyer. And so it wasn't just one problem. And because of that, I think you're not constantly, repeating a narrative. The narrative has to be constantly discovered and changing, which makes it a fun ride.
Which allows for a kaleidoscope of looks to sort of get us on that emotional journey. But I mean, again, congrats. I mean, this was a lot of fun, and I mean, I'm always happy to get insight on just how things like this are staged in the work, and just Terry, again, thank you for the work, and I mean, thank you for the time. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for watching.
You're very welcome. All right.
And don't forget to visit our friends over at Bay Street Video for all your DVD, Blu-ray rental, or purchasing needs this summer, as they are still open for curbside and some mailing delivery as well. Over at 1172 Bay Street, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, you can give them a call at 416-964-9088. That's 416-964-9088. Or send them an email at baystreetvideoto@gmail.com for any of your DVD and Blu-ray needs.